Okay, so we all use the internet, right? Every single day. But have you ever really stopped to think about what it actually is? We're going to peel back the curtain on the systems that are quietly running our entire world. And, well, you might be surprised at what you find. Because the internet is physical, it's fragile, and it is definitely not what you think.
And that right there, that statement really hits the nail on the head. I mean, the network you are using right now to watch this is built on a series of pretty profound and surprisingly delicate illusions. You know, on one hand, you've got how it feels to us. It's like magic, isn't it? Instant, invisible. It's just always there. But then there's the reality. And the reality is, it's a machine. A physical, fragile, and yeah, a very human machine. And that's really where this whole illusion gets started. Think about it. We have this deep, unspoken trust in a system that, if we're being honest, most of us can't actually explain. We just expect it to work, every single time, no questions asked. So you've probably heard the story before, right? The one about the internet being this totally free, open, decentralized thing. You know, a vast web where if one part goes down, everything else just keeps running. It's a comforting idea, for sure. But it's not exactly the whole story. All right, so let's start peeling back these layers. And first up, let's just forget that term, the cloud, for a minute. We're going to look at the actual physical machine behind it all.
Which leads to a pretty obvious question, right? If it's not a cloud, then what is it? I mean, your data isn't just floating around up there, so where is it, and how does it get from there to you?
Well, the answer is it's made of stuff. Real physical things. We're talking thousands upon thousands of miles of fiber optic cables, actual glass fibers buried at the bottom of the ocean. We're talking about massive data centers, buildings the size of shopping malls, just packed to the gills with humming servers. It's a network of actual, real-world hardware.
So what that really means is that every single thing you do online, from a simple search to watching this explainer, sends a literal pulse of light on a physical journey. It's zipping through this incredibly complex maze of wires and machines.
And here's where it gets really interesting. That physical maze, it's not some kind of public utility that belongs to everyone. No way. The most critical pieces are actually owned and controlled by a really, really small number of companies. And this is where that whole myth of decentralization just starts to fall apart. Okay, so we've got the hardware, the physical machine. But there's another layer on top of that, an invisible one that's just as important. It's not just about the cables and servers. It's about a system of agreements, a system built entirely on trust. So one of the main players in this whole web of trust is something called a certificate authority. The best way to think about it is like a digital passport office. It's a trusted company that other computers trust to check IDs. It basically vouches for a website, saying, yep, this site is who it says it is, so you don't end up giving your password to some random scammer. And this whole checkup process, we call it the digital handshake. You know that little padlock you see next to the website address in your browser? Every time you see that, this super fast exchange just happened. Your browser asks to connect, the server shows its passport, the authority gives the thumbs up, and boom, you've got a secure connection. It all happens in the blink of an eye.
But here's the crazy part. This whole system is incredibly fragile. If just one of those digital passports expires, and we're often talking about someone just forgetting to renew it, huge, major websites can just disappear from the internet for millions of us. It shows you just how much this all depends on one little link of trust.
And this all leads us to a really big paradox at the heart of the internet today. The thing that makes it feel so snappy and convenient, it's the exact same thing that makes it so breakable. And that thing is centralization.
I mean, just take a look at this. It's pretty shocking when you see it laid out like this, right? A giant chunk of the world's websites, the apps you use every day, your data, it's all living in the server farms of just a few giant companies. So much for decentralized, huh? This is the definition of concentrated. And that's the trade-off right there. Putting everything in just a few places makes it super efficient and fast, sure, but it also creates these massive single points of failure. If one of these huge hubs has a problem, well, the domino effects can be absolutely gigantic. You've definitely felt this before. You know when all of a sudden it feels like half the internet goes down at once? All your favorite apps and sites are just gone. That is not a coincidence. That's centralization in action. It just means they were all relying on the same provider, and that provider just had a really, really bad day.
So we've talked about the physical hardware, and we've talked about the invisible web of trust. But there's one last piece to this puzzle, and it might be the most important one of all, the human layer, the people who are actually running this machine.
And this is maybe the biggest surprise of all. We picture these massive internet outages being caused by some shadowy genius hacker in a dark room. But the truth is usually way less exciting. It's a typo in a line of code. Someone configured a server wrong. An update got pushed out too fast. At the end of the day, this whole system is run by people, and, people mess up sometimes. And that's why understanding all this is so important. Because once you stop thinking of the internet as this magical cloud and start seeing it for what it is, a physical, centralized, human-run system, then all those big, complex topics like data breaches and online privacy, they suddenly make a lot more sense. They're not abstract problems. They're the direct result of this fragile reality. Ultimately, the internet's greatest trick is that it works so well, most of the time, that we just forget it's even there. It feels like the air we breathe, totally invisible but absolutely essential. But it is a machine, and getting your head around that machine, how fragile it is, and the people who keep it running, that's really the key to understanding the world we live in today. So, the next time the internet flickers, what are you going to be thinking about? The cloud? Or the cable at the bottom of the ocean?